This year, I decided to see as many new movies as I possibly can. That way I can discover some new favorites I normally wouldn't have seen. With the help of my extended Regal Unlimited subscription, constantly going to the theater, watching movies on streaming, and unfortunately dealing with that annoying Regal ad.
You can't sit with us.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
I watched a lot of really good stuff this year. But sadly, this isn't the list for that. I suffered through some pure garbage this year. These are hours of my life I will never get back. Tonight, I will be talking about the 10 worst movies I saw in 2022. Keep in mind, this list is just my personal opinion, and I'm sure some of my picks might piss someone off. If you like any of the movies I'm going to mention on this list, go ahead and like them. I'm not going to stop you from enjoying whatever you like. With that being said, let's get started.
Free bagels.
If there is a movie that defines the term dump month, it's Moonfall. This was a movie made for an early release and is meant to be forgotten immediately by the end of the year. This movie was so goddamn boring and stupid I almost fell asleep in the theater. The science is absolutely baffling and laughable. The characters are generic tropes, the CGI is atrocious, the pacing is absolutely dreadful, and the acting is so bad, which is sad because they have actors in this movie I do like. They were all sleepwalking through the performances and clearly did not want to be in the movie. This description is a lot shorter than a lot of the movies I'm going to go into because this one is so goddamn boring and forgettable I barely have anything to say. I'll just stick with the first Independence Day because at least that movie is fun, unlike this thing.
I'm so glad you've come to your senses, my love.
Does anyone else remember this movie? It came out in August, and I was the only person in the theater seeing it, so I guess nobody cared.
What's that? I think it's the sound of no one caring.
Here we have quite possibly the most watered-down PG-13 horror movie I have ever seen. Like with a lot of PG-13 horror movies, the blood and gore are always trimmed down and there's constant jump scares and fake-outs. The pacing is awful, the effects on the vampires are awful, none of them look convincing, and the lighting is awful, and that was probably intentional to hide all the violence to keep the PG-13 rating. Just a heads up, this won't be the last PG-13 vampire movie by Sony you'll see on this list.
You made a promise to a dinosaur.
I didn't like the first two Jurassic World movies, so it doesn't come as much as a surprise that this movie sucked too. It's boring and uninteresting just like the first two. There are dinosaurs attacking people and I don't give a shit about what's going on. The story is convoluted and bland and the message of this movie doesn't work because it's riddled with plot holes and inconsistencies. The point of the first Jurassic Park is the danger of genetic engineering and dinosaurs and humans cannot coexist with each other. It's like trying to coexist with Dungeons and Dragons monsters or cryptids. It's a terrible idea. Once again, in a monster movie, we have to deal with the generic big corporation villain whose plan is, of course,
we've got to have money.
Instead of just focusing on the dinosaurs attacking. Hell, the main threat isn't even the dinosaurs. The big threat of the movie are fucking locusts. Locusts! I don't go to a Jurassic Park movie for fucking locusts. Jurassic World Dominion shares a lot of the problems as the last two movies, and honestly, I have no interest in watching another new Jurassic Park movie again. Maybe it's time for a meteor to hit this franchise and for it to finally go extinct.
Eat my hammer!
Before we got Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, I wasn't impressed with most of Marvel's output this year, and Thor: Love and Thunder basically epitomizes all the reasons I am starting to get sick of the MCU. I am especially getting sick of Marvel's humor, and this movie is Marvel humor at its absolute worst. This movie relies way too much on comedy, and it always ruins the tone and the tension. A lot of the running jokes, especially those fucking screaming goats, got on my nerves very fast. The love triangle between Thor, Stormbreaker, and Mjolnir was so fucking stupid and unnecessary. Thor is treated like a complete moron just like how he was in Ragnarok. He is annoying just like the rest of these fucking characters. Especially Korg, who is at his absolute worst in this movie. The plot holes in this movie are fucking obnoxious and I'm surprised nobody fell in one. Since when were Thor's hammers sentient? When was that established? If this realm of eternity existed the entire time, why didn't Thor go back to reverse Thanos' snap? The pacing is absolutely horrendous. There's no story, and for fuck's sake, Marvel, you don't have to use CGI for every little thing! Kevin Feige, do us all a favor and keep Taika Waititi away from the MCU forever. I don't know what the hell Alex Garland was smoking when he thought this movie was a good idea. It fails at delivering a message because it's trying to present itself as one thing but ends up coming across as another thing. It tries to deal with themes of grief and victim blaming, but instead comes off as all men are toxic, men are evil, men are the same. It has the problem a lot of movies have nowadays where the movie decides to tell you the message instead of showing it. It fails at being a female empowerment movie because our main character is a weak, bland, one-dimensional, and fucking stupid character. Instead of her rising up against the toxic men and fighting back, every time one of the guys intimidates her, she just stands there or walks away. At one point, she has a knife pointed at one of these guys and she doesn't even use it on him. She just stands there stone-faced and does nothing. Ripley and Sarah Connor, she is not. And it fails at being a horror movie because every single attempt at being scary or disturbing comes off as funny. I'm supposed to find a naked guy looking at a tree scary? For fuck's sake, guys, this movie ends with a guy giving birth 4 fucking times in a row. At first it's disturbing, but then it keeps going on and on and on, and it gets boring very fast. This movie's pretentious nature kicks in by shoving in a bunch of out-of-place artsy scenes of dandelions floating in the air or ham-fisted Bible metaphors. Oh look, she's eating an apple from a tree and she wasn't allowed to. Get it? Like Eve eating the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge? Yes, Alex Garland, I get it. You're not clever. I even had somebody in the theater tell me I don't understand the movie because I'm a man. No, fuck you. I understand what the movie was going for. It was executed poorly. These one-sided, pretentious agenda movies need to stop because I don't know about you, I'm getting sick of them.
Men, we don't know what we did.
I kept flip-flopping bodies, and men for 5 and 6, yet this movie annoyed me a lot more than Men did. When I saw the trailers, I thought it was going to be an homage to classic murder mystery movies, but with a Gen Z twist. Instead of that, I got Knives Out for idiots. Some of you may say, but Devin, it's satire. You just don't get its deep complexities. I'm a Gen Z. I was born in 1999, and this movie gives me even more reasons to hate Gen Z. This movie is a walking headache because I was getting irritated and annoyed at every single character in this movie. These are some of the most annoying, insufferable, whiny douchebags I have ever seen in any movie. I wanted every single one of these fucking idiots to die. The movie itself is boring, the pacing is awful, there are constant subplots and conflicts that go absolutely nowhere, and a fucking stupid ending that has the entire movie not make any sense. Oh no, there was no killer. Pete Davidson died because he was a dumbass trying to film a TikTok with a sword. Ha 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 ha! Fuck you for wasting my time! The actors in this movie aren't horrible, but it sucks they're given a shitty script and they're playing characters I absolutely hate. I know with most A24 movies you either love them or hate them, and there are some A24 movies on my best of the year list, but this movie and Men are 2 of A24's absolute worst. You see, I told you this wasn't going to be the last PG-13 vampire movie by Sony you'd see on this list. I thought both Venom movies sucked, so I had very low expectations for this movie, and it was exactly what I thought it was gonna be. The editing is so choppy and sloppy, you can tell there were scenes cut where character development was necessary or were integral to the plot, but they were just cut out. The pacing is too goddamn quick and it always takes me out of the movie. The only actor who really cared in this movie was Matt Smith as the villain, because everyone else was sleepwalking through their roles. Jared Leto especially looked bored throughout the movie. His performance as the Joker was better because at least he was having fun in that role. Here, Leto couldn't care less. The action scenes are poorly shot because they all take place in the dark just like the Venom movies, probably to hide the god-awful CGI that looks like something out of a goddamn video game. And to top it all off, the post-credit scenes of this movie make absolutely no sense. Why did Vulture get sent to the Sonyverse? When did he get sent to the Sonyverse? Was it when Peter first fucked up the spell? Or when Doctor Strange cast the spell to make everyone forget Peter Parker? It's never explained. After this movie, I don't care about any more Sonyverse Spider-Man movies. We've had 3 movies in this universe and they all sucked ass, so why should I keep sitting through them? I won't see Kraven, Madam Web, Venom 3, El Muerto, or the J. Jonah Jameson and Aunt May buddy cop movie or anything else they shit out. Go back to Mars Island, Jared.
Show Grief your fucking tits and say, you know what? Let's go.
I've already reviewed this movie twice. There's my rant and ramble, and there's the Cool Kids review on Zach Axiola's channel. If you're curious about my full thoughts, watch both of those. You ever wanted to see Laurie and Michael sidelined in their own movie in favor of some random guy? No? Well, too bad, because for some fucking reason, David Gordon Green thought this shit was a good idea. Corey Cunningham is not an interesting character, and I didn't give a shit about him or his non-existent romance with Allison. And I especially didn't want to see him dress up as Michael Myers and kill a bunch of people after he takes the motherfucking boogeyman to the ground and beats his ass. Halloween Ends takes all the worst elements from all the bad Halloween movies. I am baffled at every single creative decision made with this movie. This is one missed opportunity after another. I've lost all faith in David Gordon Green, and I am not looking forward to his Exorcist trilogy. Why the fuck would you advertise the movie as a Laurie and Michael movie? Fuck you! The only thing I'm thankful for when it comes to this movie is it gave me an audience that enjoyed the Halloween reviews I did in preparation for this movie, so that's nice. Other than that, this movie is garbage and a finale done wrong.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
How many times are they going to reboot this series? They'll never get it right, and this movie proves it. This is nothing but a shameless ripoff of Halloween 2018, and it fails at capturing what made that movie good in the first place. All of the characters in this movie are annoying and unlikable, and I couldn't wait for Leatherface to kill them all. They go through no character development whatsoever. It tries to have social commentary by having one of the characters be a survivor of a school shooting, and it comes off as cheap and shoved in. The dialogue is absolutely awful with stupid lines such as, "Try anything and you're canceled, bro." Sally Hardesty is wasted in this movie, and she isn't even played by Marilyn Burns since she died in 2014. Why the hell are you resurrecting a character if you're not gonna have the original actress come back? This is supposed to be a legacy sequel after all, so what's the fucking point? The kills in this movie are uninteresting. The effects are laughable, even for a fucking Netflix movie. The movie opens with fucking stock footage from the original. We're taking inspiration from Texas Chainsaw 3D? Great idea, morons. I have officially given up on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. If they announce a new movie, I will not see it. I'll stick to the original classic and the original sequel, but that's it. I would rather watch Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, Freddy's Dead, and Jason Goes to Hell over this thing any day of the week. Fuck this movie. Stop making fucking Texas Chainsaw movies already, for fuck's sake. Before I get to the worst of the worst, I want to list some dishonorable mentions. Uncharted, Crimes of the Future, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, 3000 Years of Longing, Don't Worry Darling, Hocus Pocus 2, Smile, Black Adam, Strange World, and Violent Night. So what is number 1? What was the movie that pushed me to my boiling point and angered me beyond belief? Originally, it was going to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but then I saw this.
Greetings from Transylvania.
Do you see that reaction? That says it all. This movie hurt to watch. I am a big fan of the show, and this movie got everything wrong. The characters are wrong, the humor is wrong, the tone is wrong. The acting is atrocious from everyone, especially from our 2 leads. Jeff Daniel Phillips and Sherry Moon Zombie don't feel like the beloved Herman and Lily Munster. Instead, they feel like fucking cosplayers. This movie proves Sherry Moon Zombie cannot act. She has this annoying shaky voice, she walks around with her hands up like she's getting ready to pinch someone's nipples, and she acts horny the entire movie. Jeff Daniel Phillips turned Herman from a lovable goofball with a good heart who loved his family to an annoying moronic jackass who sounds like his balls haven't dropped yet. And worst of all, there's no fucking chemistry between the two. Not once did I believe these two were in love. They kept saying they were in love with each other, but I never bought it. They felt like Padme and Anakin from Attack of the Clones. Show us they love each other. Don't tell us. Not once is this movie funny. Every joke is just a lame dad joke or pun. There's no story or conflict whatsoever. There's no plot. The pacing is garbage because this should have been an hour and 20 minutes, but it was dragged out to almost 2 hours. Worst of all, it's missing the important ingredient that made the show so great. It wasn't just corny monster jokes, it was the family dynamic. The monsters felt like a real family despite them being a family of monsters. Making this a prequel takes away from that dynamic because Eddie and Marilyn are nowhere to be found in this movie. This doesn't even feel like a movie at all. At least all the other movies I mentioned felt like movies. For the most part, there were plots, there were stories, there were conflicts. This movie had none of that. It felt like a short film or a Spirit Halloween advertisement. Rob, please stop making movies. Just stick to music. And if you're going to keep making movies, stop writing your scripts because you are not a good writer. But I know you're not going to listen to this, so what's the point of me bitching? Just because you think you can doesn't mean you should. I know he's a big fan of the show, but he did such an awful job with this movie. But it's no contest, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Zombie's The Munsters takes the fucking cake as the worst movie I have seen in 2022. And that is every single awful movie I saw this year. Tune in next time when I look at my favorites of the year, because unlike this list, my best list will be a top 15.